All right.
Which grant team will be here?
Our grant from
Our staff. Yeah.
our staff.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Williams. We appreciate it. Mrs. Davis, continue.
If I can, Mr. Williams, excuse me, Mr. Williams, you have two more additional.
No, I spoke to Ms. Lovell, and she said no,
Okay.
didn't happen.
I'm just making sure. Okay. The next item on the agenda is from our purchasing department, and Mrs. House will present several items for your consideration.
Okay. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Mr. President, fellow board members, my first item, I gave you the packet this morning. It was a last-minute insertion. It's from the Sheriff's Department. They've submitted a request for a video audio recorder shirt camera. Adaptive Digital Systems Incorporated, the sole source of obtaining these items. The amount of the order is $9,200.
Okay. What's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. President,
Mr. Stokes?
I'm trying to find it. What, is it A on the agenda?
No. There was an insertion that I put on the podium right here.
Is that an additional item?
And we're paying for what then?
It's a video audio recorder shirt. It's an actual shirt that has video and surveillance equipment for the investigators.
How many shirts? One shirt for how much?
$9,200.
Same number here.
Actually, two shirts.
Okay.
One blue and one green. I think it's two shirts.
It's actually all of the equipment in the shirts.
Yeah, it's basically like a vid mic. What it is, it has video and microphone where when they put it on, it's used in special investigations, also used in traffic stops to eliminate complaints for individuals stating that officers may or may not have done that. Okay, it's been moved. Second. All those in favor of it? Opposed to?
It's from
Motion passes.
It was budgeted from the general fund. They had actually asked previous.
Okay, it passes. Go with your next item.
My next item is the Hinds County Election Commission has submitted a request for a tote bin for the new voting machines. Election Services and Software LLC is the sole source of obtaining these items. The amount of the order is $24,000, which will come from the HAPA funds.
Will come from the HAPA funds.
Yes, sir.
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. All those in favor of?
Yes.
Opposed to?
Mr. President,
Mr.
I think I read something about the HEPA funds where we had not done some work together.
That's correct, but it was corrected by Mrs. Cox. It has been corrected, and we're now receiving those HAPA funds again. Yeah, it was because of a report that was not turned in. Okay. All those in favor of?
Yes.
Opposed to? Motion passes. Okay. Continue, please.
My next item is a request from the Maintenance Department. They have submitted to purchase 3 vehicles, 1-ton regular cab F-350, a 1-ton crew cab F-350, and a 3/4-ton Chevrolet cargo van. The total of the vehicles is $60,465. Vehicles are on state contract.
Okay. It's been moved. Is there a second?
This question,
Question?
we want to get a second and then deal with the question.
Yeah. Well, it's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Discussion?
Mr. President, what I want to know is the $60,000, is that in the budget that was approved last September for these vehicles, or are we taking money that was supposedly to be spent on something else and now using it to purchase vehicles?
That is correct. This money was not budgeted in the original budget, and it will be used from other line items within the maintenance department.
So what was this money intended for in this current year's budget?
Unfilled vacancies.
So we don't need that many vacancies. We need to cut it, the funded positions by whatever those, by $60,000 when we do the budget for the next fiscal year, right?
Well, we could discuss that. The issue, we do need those positions, and we can evaluate if we need all of them.
But they were not
some-
filled.
Right, they were filled for other factors, such as trying to find the proper experience and expertise, and we've had trouble with folks willing to accept the salary level for those positions.
Well, in that case, and I'm not, I think it needs to be said, okay?
Yeah.
We do need to pay people, but at the same time, it's a common practice for staff, not just in Hinds County, to have all that money in there for positions knowing full well that they're not going to be filled. And at the end of the year, they do what they really want to do with that money. And I'm not speaking to whether or not there's a need, but I'm talking about the practice.
Yes, sir. I do agree.
Okay? And I think we need to address that practice.
Yeah.
One of the things I'd like
Mr. Bingham alluded to just this in his report.
That's right.
Just a second ago.
and I'd like to speak to that as well. I do know that they need equipment, but at the same time, if they need that particular equipment and we're using it from an employee standpoint, then they didn't, I think what you're saying is they didn't need the employees either.
Right.
So if they didn't need the employees, then why do we need the vehicles? And I think that that's one of the things that we were trying to do from the beginning is the fact that we have all of these things happening at the end of the year. Everyone bringing us every kind of thing you can possibly think of. And I think that's one of the things that you alluded to that Mr. Bacon was talking about. And this is one of those particular, I guess one of those particular issues. But I have an issue with this issue.
Well, I do want to point out to the board members that this was, of course, an unexpected issue because these vehicles were deadline. They were older vehicles. They do serve the areas in which the maintenance department, work on, and so they're beyond repair.
But wouldn't it be better to budget for next year than to just use the vacant slots this year?
We certainly could. That's an option. But I just wanted to let you know why the vehicles were needed.
Okay. Mr. Hunter?
Yeah, well, one of the reasons I support this purchase is because when I first came on board, I talked to Mr. Harrington about some maintenance work down at the parks out in the rural area in Hayward, and he explained to me he didn't have a truck that was operable and a trailer to get out and cut the grass. And he had to borrow public works. So, it's a Johnny come late type purchase, but I think we need to move forward.
So Jenny did come late, okay. Mrs. Calhoun?
And Mr. President, that's my point. We have applicable we have items that require funding that this board has not appropriated, or there were not sufficient funds in one's departmental budget to purchase these items. So that's why I sit here and say that it's important that if you're going to make a recommendation to the Hinds County Board of Supervisors, you need to understand how we operate, and you need to understand what these are, because if you don't, it's easy to say, cut your capital expense budget $600,000 when you have more, when you have $1 million plus needs. Needs that will keep us in compliance of operating day to day.
Okay, Dr. Walker, and then we'll move on.
I just think that if we take this money to buy these vehicles, and we apparently do not need maybe 3 positions that we took the money from, is that we should delete those from the budget for next fiscal year.
Okay.
And I can support this request on the condition that we look at the personnel line items and vacancies in that department before we finalize our budget for the next fiscal year.
Okay, thank you very much. I do believe there were 6 openings.
6.
Okay. It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor of?
Yes.
Opposed to? Motion passes. Continue, please. Mr. Stokes?
Could we hold item number 3, A and B, so I can talk to the county administrator, Mr. Lewis, and everyone else, please?
Okay. Item number, let's see, which one is that?
Second throw of your timeline?
Number 3, A and B?
Yes, please.
Okay.
That may throw off your timeline to have those bids in place by October 1.
When does that contract expire? This is house.
September 31st.
30th.
Okay. What is this in relation to?
Well, I want to find out more information, which was, I think it's like, so we try to get numbers and everything. This gave me about the bids and everything. Yeah.
Okay. We can hold it till the end of the agenda. We'll allow you an opportunity to meet with them and stuff like that.
So I really need to hold to the next meeting.
Okay.
So I can meet everybody.
Okay, Mrs. Davis, is that something that you can do for this particular issue?
I will have to check deadline dates, but certainly I'll verify that before then.
Okay. We'll hold it until Mrs. Davis checks to verify the date on these particular two items. Okay. Thank you very much.
That's all.
All right. We will continue. Mrs. Davis? Yes, we're holding.
Yes, if I can go back to the ad for the Mississippi Association of Supervisors, I realized I had a price sheet. And so you'll know right away that a full sheet is only $50 more than the half sheet. So
Okay.
we'll move forward.
Thank you very much. Continue, please.
The next item will be Mrs. Woods regarding budget and finance matters.
Good afternoon, President, members of the board. I have two items. The first item, I would like to request advertisement for the notice of public hearing on the proposed budget and proposed tax levies for the upcoming fiscal year for Hinds County. The advertisement dates will be August 15th and August 22nd in Jackson Avenue.
Okay.
Now, this proposed tax notice does not take into consideration any increase in taxes. That will be if the board so chooses to advertise for an increase in taxes. Now is the time I would have to do it. The one I selected does not take into
So we
consideration.
won't be able to do as much next year as we've done this year.
Unless at this point you would like to go ahead and advertise for a possible decrease in taxes.
What did we do last year?
We did not advertise because that was the first year that the state gave us the option to have different advertisements.
Okay. All right. Dr. Walker?
Nobody wants to raise taxes.
Right.
But I think sometimes have to operate in such a way that you have the flexibility. You don't want to do it, but if something comes up, if something is revealed between now and that time, then you're boxed out.
Right, but we can use the other advertisement, it would be for possible tax.
Which does not mean that there will be a tax increase.
Correct, but the problem's been in the past is getting individuals to understand that our office was always flooded. But people are going, what are y'all doing, raising taxes? And some people also facilitated that, making sure, thinking that not letting the public were trying to get them in an uproar stating that we were going to increase taxes when in essence they knew that we were not.
Well, each supervisor needs to buy one of those little things that you put holes in the bill with.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be some type of
There you go. I agree. So, do you want? What's the pleasure of the board? I so move. I guess that we go ahead and go with what we've done in the past year, and that is that we're not going to advertise for that. It's been moved. Is there a second? It's been moved and properly seconded. All those in favor of? Opposed to? Motion passes.
Okay.
Continue.
Secondly, I'd like to ask your approval on the budget amendments for today, August 5th. These amendments represent the permanent request to transfer funds based on the explanations provided with each amendment in compliance with FASB 34. In addition, there are several amendments that will affect the general fund unappropriated surplus totaling the 405, 834, 89. Two of these amendments were based on that board action that was previously taken. These amendments include the county attorney's salary and fringes for a full-time legal assistant for $6,628.92. Jackson Music Award support for $7,000. The circuit court room and board and travel as it relates to the Hutto pays $27,926.10 and $22,774.50. Additionally, it includes the payment to other government agencies for housing of inmates in the amount of $342,871.33 as well as the board attorney's legal fees to amend their budget for expenditures that are already expended in the amount of $18,634.04.
Okay, what's the pleasure of the board? What is the pleasure of the board? Also moved. It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor of? Opposed to?
Nay.
1 nay. Motion passes. Okay. Thank you very much, Mrs. Davis. Continue.
Okay, thank you. That concludes the items under County Administrator, with the exception of one we're going to follow up on. However, I do have 2 minute insertions on the agenda, but no action is required by the board.
Thank you very much. We'll now go to Ms. Prince, who's substituting for Mr. Cagle.
Good afternoon, Mr. President, fellow board members. I have a few items for your consideration. The first of which is not located on the agenda, but is a resolution for refinancing of the emergency communications equipment.
Did you say you didn't have an emergency purchase? Okay.
Okay.
I think it's better.
Go ahead, please.
Okay.
Sorry. This is the resolution awarding the sale of a $3,200,000 bond for the Hinds County, Mississippi General Obligation Note, Series 2013, directing the issuance of said note.
Wait a minute. Before you do that, you have to actually have them approve the bid. Can't do a resolution without them approving which interest rate to pick.
This is the Motorola payment from about 2 or 3 weeks ago.
I'm assuming that you're recommending the low interest rate.
Okay, go ahead, please.
Good afternoon. This morning we took bids for the interest rate on the refinancing of the E911 system through the geo-negotiable note. The low bidder in that interest rate was Bancorp South with 1.909%. And I believe she would like you to approve that interest rate bid as the lowest and best bid.
What's the pleasure of the board? I so moved that we do. It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor of? Opposed to?
Nay.
1 nay. Motion passes. Okay, continue, please.
Next, I have
Now you can do that.
Now we have the recommendation for a resolution awarding the sale of the $3,200,000 Hinds County, Mississippi General Obligation Note, Series 213, directing the issuance of said note, prescribing the form and details of said note, providing certain covenants of Hinds County in connection with said note, and directing the preparation, execution, and delivery thereof, ratifying the publication of a notice of sale, and in connection with said note, the distribution of materials related to the sale and issuance of said note, and for related purposes.
What's the pleasure of the board? I so move. Is there a second? Is there a second? Is there a second? Motion dies for lack of a second. Okay. I don't know where this leaves us as regards to paying that particular note since we've had the bids for it, but what we'll do is we'll come back and hopefully ask for a motion to reconsider. Okay, continue, please.
Moving on, we have 2 tax matters. The first is a recommendation for a refund for parcel 168-143. And that refund was for the purpose.
I'm sorry, can you, one of the things, I'm sorry to stop you there. Mr. Hunter, Supervisor Hunter said he did not hear the last request. So could you repeat that for him on the last motion that you made that failed?
This was a resolution approving the general obligation note that there was a bid on this morning.
Right.
And that was for the refinancing of our emergency communications equipment that had been previously approved.
Okay.
Maybe included that Motorola.
That's what this is. That's what this resolution is for.
Okay.
President, so that wasn't part of the package either.
Yeah, it was a vote for us to
Correct.
pay.
It's not part of the package. It's not in your package.
No, but it was.
I believe Mr. Taylor may have sent it out Friday.
He sent it out Friday stating that the bids were going to be open today, and that as a result of the bids, then they would bring them to the board on today. Mr. Stokes is back. I don't know if he wanted to vote on that, but we can ask for a motion to reconsider since the vote has already been taken on that particular issue. It's the paying of the note to Motorola. All right, there's been a motion to reconsider. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion to reconsider. There's a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Now, would you read the last part of your motion again for us to go ahead and see if we can go through this motion?
This is for the approval of a resolution awarding the sale of a $3,200,000 general obligation note, Series 2013, directing the issuance of said note, prescribing the form and details of said note, providing certain covenants of Hinds County, Mississippi in connection with said note, and directing the preparation, execution, and delivery thereof, ratifying the publication of a notice of sale, and in connection with said note, the distribution of materials related to the sale and issuance of said note for related purposes.
Okay, is there, what's the pleasure of the board?
So moved, Mr. President.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor of?
Mr. President, let me ask you this.
Yes.
Is this that note that we've
Yes.
been on for so long,
Yes.
we've been trying to wipe away?
Yes.
Now, this time we vote, it's going to be gone. We're gonna-
Correct.
Okay.
You
All
just
those,
gotta do one.
yeah, all those in favor of?
Yes.
Opposed to?
Nay.
One nay. Motion passes. Okay, continue, please.
Moving on, we have two tax matters. The first is a recommendation for a refund for parcel 168-143. There was an assessment for a structure that had been demolished, and we're going to refund the difference to the taxpayer.
Okay,
So moved.
it's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor of?
Yes.
Opposed to? Motion, one nay. Motion passes. Okay.
The second is a refund for a property reassessment. There was an error in the square footage, and we want to refund the taxpayer the difference for that overcharge.
Okay, how much are we talking about? Do you know? It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor of?
Yes.
Opposed to? Motion passes. If you would just get that amount back to me, please. Okay. Thank you very much. We will continue with our printed agenda. We'll now go to Mr. Mark Young. You'll see.
Good afternoon. Here's a request to approve of the board president to sign the final project acceptance for the 800 megahertz rebanding project.
What's the pleasure of the board? It's been moved.
What is that?
That's sprint next year.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor of?
Yes.
Opposed to? Motion passes.
Who made the motion on that, please? Thank you.
Mr. Stokes, I think Dr. Walker made the second. Okay.
About the second, I just missed the motion.
Thank you very much. Continue, please.
Yes, second is request to approve and adoption by the board of supervisors on the following emergency management plan for the UNPG grant. A is the Hinds County Emergency Management Plan. B is the Radiological Emergency Management Plan. And C, we will scratch C because MEMA does not have the template for it yet.
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor of?
Yes.
Opposed to? Motion passes.
When do you expect the template for C?
I'm hoping within the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
When you get the new compact?
I'll come back before you.
Okay.
I'll give you all a copy.
Supervisor Hunter?
I have a question to you, Mr. Young. I noticed in the media over in Rankin County, they're building this, what you call safe house shelter, about $3.2 million. How can Hinds County possibly look into getting some of that nature built in Western Hinds County?
Well, we have to look into more grants. I had a meeting with Bob Wentworth